Hey everybody, welcome back. Today is the very long-awaited Harvest Right Freeze Dryer video. So without further ado, let's get to it.
With every start, we are born again. Open your heart, spend this time in your head.
I wanted to show you guys a way to use the freeze dryer that may not be something you would typically think of. I wanted to take chicken thighs and turn it into more than just chicken thighs. So I put them into the pressure cooker. I always remove the skin because yes, if you put it into the pressure cooker, it can bring a lot of good collagen into the broth, but we really like to eat the skins. So I pull the skins off because I have tried pressure cooking the skins first and then air frying them afterwards, or if it doesn't go well. So I just pulled them off to begin with. Then I added an entire leftover carcass from a rotisserie chicken to the pot with the chicken thighs. I recommend putting only 8 cups of water into it. I actually wasn't thinking about it, and so I ended up with 12 cups of water, which is honestly too much. And when you're using a freeze dryer, the whole point is to remove the water. So just in this instance, just do 8 cups of water. The recipe for the soup is actually down below. It's Bella's Chicken Soup for the Soul, which was my second video, so I can link that up above as well. When we were living in Wisconsin in the RV in the winter. So that was a lot of fun, but that video is up there. But I wanted to show you guys how you can take something and turn it into numerous things. We are really trying not to waste anything. We save all of our peelings, all of our food leftovers, whether it's fat or meat, no matter what it is, we give it to the chickens, the dogs, or the cats. And we try to keep absolutely everything out of the trash can, and we want to utilize every piece of whatever it is that we have, trying not to be wasteful as much as possible. Everything is so expensive nowadays. I don't want to throw anything away. So I thought the perfect video for you guys would be to see how I can take chicken thighs and make 3 things, actually technically 4 things from that, but 3 of them with a freeze dryer. I pulled the skins off and I deep fried those. But the 3 things that we made in the freeze dryer is a broth that can be broken down into like a bouillon powder. So we have a concentrated broth powder. The bones themselves can be ground up. They can be used as a calcium supplement or even as a fertilizer for your garden or supplementation for your dogs and cats. And then finally, the freeze-dried chicken itself. I'm not going to go into all of the details and the technical aspects of how to use the freeze dryer and what this does. Harvest Right does a fantastic job of doing that, and they have videos. So I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I did want to show you guys the finished product. So here is the broth. This is what the broth does. I might have to get let me see. So this, it's been sitting out and it's apparently too humid in my house, so it's getting a little chewy. But this is what the broth turns into. We actually call these soup chip. Bella absolutely loves these. And it's just a really strong concentration of the broth. Lots of salt, lots of flavor in it. So this is going to have the collagen. It's going to have a lot of nutrients in it. Bella doesn't like broth, but she loves to eat this stuff. Just like a chip. So you can leave it in big giant sheets. You can pulverize it and turn it into a powder. And I actually have a jar of that as well. I'll go grab that so you can see that. This is my chicken broth. It's all powdered and ground up. And I keep a tablespoon scoop in there so that whenever I want just a cup of broth, I put about, it's like 6, maybe 7 ounces of hot water to a 1/4 cup of this. So I'll put the 1/4 cup in first, and then I'll add the hot water with our electric tea kettle right over here and pour that in, mix it up together. I actually prefer the flavor of the reconstituted broth over the fresh broth. It changes it. It's just a little bit different. So this you can add directly to recipes. If it calls for a certain amount of chicken broth, you just add that much water. And then I do like a 1/4 cup of the broth powder to a cup of water is about what I do it at. Sometimes a little bit more if you want it to have extra flavor. So I'm actually going to leave these in the larger sheets. Normally it's a little spongy because it's been sitting out. That's one of the tips that I want to give you guys. You have to get used to your freeze dryer. It's actually one of the reasons that I pre-freeze my food. You don't have to. You can allow the machine to freeze it for you, but it does take longer. My freezers are already plugged in. They're already going. So I prefer to put everything on these trays, which is why we got the tray tops so that we could stack everything up. And I like to pre-freeze it so that when I put it into my freeze dryer, it's a lot less of a process. When I do broth, it can take sometimes upwards of 36 to maybe even 48 hours to dehydrate the broth if it's not pre-frozen. This one was less than 24 hours. I don't know how much less because I didn't get to it until I woke up in the morning. So if it sits in there with the ice, it will slowly begin to reabsorb moisture. That's kind of what this has done. It's already gotten a little bit too soft. This is going to stay in big sheets and it's going to be turned into soup chip for Bella to be able to eat. It's not going to last for very long. I have 2 trays of that. I'm going to set these over here. And when I do liquid, I don't use my tray liners. Now here is the chicken. You can see it. This shifts. So these tray liners, these are silicone tray liners. These are fantastic. Oh, there's a bit of bone in there. There was a little bit of bone in there with the chicken. So throw that on the bone tray. We did use the parchment paper. We used parchment paper for a little while, trying to kind of keep things from sticking to these trays. It works, but then you're just throwing stuff away. You're just throwing something away. Whereas these are reusable over and over and over again. I actually, depending on what I'm freeze drying, sometimes I'll just take the mat. If I did berries on one side, I'll flip it over and do something else on the other side before I even bother to wash it. Depends on how much I'm doing and how much time I have to wash everything in between. But this is the chicken. So this is the chicken itself. And this is what it looks like. You can see the texture, all of those little strings are in there, and I'm gonna make a mess. And that's it. It's very, very, very dry. And it is very light. That's one of the amazing things about freeze-dried food is if I was going to take the 8 pieces, the 8 thighs with us, and I remember it was around 8 thighs, with us camping, it weighs so much more. But then if it's freeze-dried, it's so much lighter. It's easier to take with you on a camping trip, in any kind of emergency situation where you have to grab and go. This stuff is going to be so much lighter. So again, there are videos to show you how to reconstitute this, but you would just put this into some hot water. And we actually just kind of munch on it. And then we drink water, because it really will kind of dehydrate you a little bit. It's soaking up your saliva as you're eating it. But it's got a fantastic crunch. It tastes exactly like the chicken does. I kept some of it in my fridge. You guys saw that in the last video for the chicken salad. This is the other half of it. I only did half of it because I wanted to use the other part. So this chicken is absolutely wonderful. And this we would put into, and I will put it in there. I'm going to put this into a Mylar bag when I have enough of it. Until then, I put it into a mason jar just to keep the air away from it until I have enough to fill up the Mylar bag. Then I will put it into the Mylar bag and seal it with the sealer. So you could put this into a Mylar bag. Harvest Right does have Mylar bags. They have desiccant packages. They have the oxygen absorbers. They have the sealant for the sealer, impulse sealer, I think is what it's called, for the Mylar bags. I will wait until I have enough to fill up the entire bag, throw in an oxygen absorber, seal it up, and then throw a label on it. So that is the plan for these guys. These are going to be saved for emergency food. In case something happens and we don't have power, I can throw a pot onto my stove with some water in it, throw this in there with some dehydrated veggies, and make a soup for us and the kids. Super easy, very nutritious, also very light, and stores wonderfully. And this is the final piece that I wanted to show you guys. This is your calcium supplement. This has the bone marrow still in it. These little bits down here, these are, this section right here is what I got out of the crock pot from the chicken, from the thighs and then the leftover carcass. The rest of this, and then there's a whole other tray down here, this whole other tray. These are actually ribs that were left over from our cow. So when we eat the ribs, we save the bones. And on my stove, I'll throw the rib bones into a pot that's covered. They're covered with water. And then I keep it on a very low simmer, covered with a lid, a very tight fitting lid, until they're soft. For these rib bones, it generally takes 2 to 3 days. You can do the larger bones that the bone marrow comes from. Those ones can take a week in order to be soft enough to be processed. And you keep putting water into it as much as you need to. The tighter the lid fits, the better the seal will be, and not too much will be escaping. You also got to keep the temperature down a little bit, but you could literally take these and plant these in your garden. You can turn over the ground and you can plant these in there, and this is going to be calcium and phosphorus and all kinds of other things that will just slowly leach into the soil, giving it a fertilization. This is bone meal. This is literally like a bone meal fertilizer. You can, like I said, grind it up for yourself, and you can, here, I'll show you. I want to make a mess. I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to throw these into my Vitamix and powder these up. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is the bone meal that has the bone marrow still in it, that has the dark part in the middle, which you can see. It's got that dark bit in the middle. That's all that good bone marrow. So this is what that looks like. That's nice and brown. The ones that you get from the bone marrow bones that are all cleaned out in the middle and it's just the white bone, that's what this bone powder looks like. I did not bleach this. I didn't do anything to it. These both came from the same cow. This one was the bone marrow bones. This one was from the ribs. So that's the difference in what you're going to get between the two bones. But I did not bleach this. I didn't do anything else to it. I just cooked the bones on my stove for a really, really, really long time. I think it was about a week, until they were finally soft enough for me to be able to throw them into my Vitamix and have them break down into this powder. So we can give this to the dogs, we can take it ourselves, or we can use it as a fertilizer in the garden. There's all kinds of tips and tricks to using a freeze dryer. Honestly, everything that you freeze dry is going to have a different tip or a different trick to it. You just kind of have to learn what's going to work for you and your situation and your climate and your altitude, everything. I actually prefer to freeze dry mostly in the fall and through the winter and sometimes in the spring, because it actually creates quite a bit of heat. I mean, it's drawing the heat and the moisture out of the food, and then it has to get rid of it, so it puts it out into the room. It helps to heat my pantry, because my pantry doesn't have a vent in it, so it's usually pretty darn chilly in the winter time. So that actually helps to heat this side of the house a little bit better, which is why I save it for winter time. Learning how to freeze dry, when to freeze dry, all of those things are going to depend on every single situation. Honestly, It's not hard. They have so many videos at Harvest Right that you can watch, that you can learn with. Other people have videos for specific items on YouTube. You can go and watch those. But we have freeze dried so many things. We have done apples, bananas, mangoes, peppers, all kinds of berries, so many things. And we so far have loved every single bit of it. The kids, I have to limit the kids how many apples they can eat because they would probably eat 5 apples worth of the freeze-dried apples. And we have a ton of apple trees here. So it's been wonderful for us and really cost effective. Now, speaking of cost, yes, they are expensive, but in our case, it was absolutely worth it. Richard had actually been asking for a freeze dryer for years prior to us actually getting one. The only reason I told him no in California was I said, I'm not paying to ship the thing. And I know we're not staying here in California, so let's wait until we get where we're going and then we can get the freeze dryer. And he said, yeah, nope, I completely agree. So the minute we got here to Wisconsin, we found a house. We actually signed the papers for the house and we placed our order for the freeze dryer. It was literally the first thing that we did after signing papers for our house. And after everything had closed and all the final checks had happened, we bought our freeze dryer because that's something that we had been waiting on for a very long time. So our freeze dryer came, we have been using it very consistently ever since. You can do so many different things with the freeze dryer. It is absolutely cost effective. It will pay for itself. The more you use it, the faster it pays for itself. I did not do any price comparison breakdowns. Maybe someday I will, but I have seen some videos where a couple did 24 pounds of bananas, I believe, and they did the cost comparison. It cost them about $26 to buy all of the bananas and then like $10 to run the machine itself, versus buying all of those freeze-dried bananas could have been upwards of $250. So absolutely worth it in the long run, depending on what your situation is. We have the large stainless steel Harvest Right. So it has the 5 trays, the largest trays that are available. We got the tray covers, we got the silicone mats, we got the impulse sealer, we got the Mylar bags, we got the oxygen absorbers. We've gotten a lot of stuff from them. And honestly, I have no regrets for any of it. The other question a lot of people have asked is, do you have a discount code for Harvest Right? Well, I talked to them about that. Harvest Right actually doesn't do a discount code for their affiliates. I am an affiliate and my link is down below. What Harvest Right likes to do is anytime they can give their affiliates a really, really, really good sale, they do it. And guess what? There is never not some kind of a sale going on. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less, but they always do the best that they can do. So if you click the link down below, you can go to their site and take a look and see what they have to offer. And they will always give you the very best sale that they are able to give to any of the affiliate consumers. So my link is down below. I love my Harvest Right. There's a lot of people, not that we would ever do this, there's a lot of people who really like freeze drying candy. I can't bring myself to do it. And I'm not about to take like the keto candy that I get once in a while for the kids and put that in there in case they don't like it. I'm just not going to do that. You can freeze dry so many things. It is absolutely incredible. And in ways of being prepared, I think 100% worth it. You can freeze dry all of the meats that you have. You can freeze dry the produce that you have. We even do eggs. We do our whole eggs. We do the egg whites. Man, there's a lot of water in those egg whites. Let me tell you, they break down substantially. We do the egg yolks. Fats are kind of questionable when it comes to the freeze dryer. It does take longer and they don't always fully dehydrate the way you'd like them to. So make sure to do research to see like things like heavy whipping cream. We have done that, but it didn't really turn out very well. And the texture was not what we were hoping for. Same thing with sour cream. When we reconstituted it, I couldn't get over the texture. Like it was just a big fat no for me. But there are so many other things that we are able to freeze dry that it frees up space in my freezer. That's a lot of freeze. Then we can keep those things in the freezer, and then other things can be in the Mylar bags or even in mason jars so that they are shelf stable and if sealed properly can be good for 25 years. I hope that I answered all your guys' questions and showed you a little bit of what the freeze dryer is capable of doing. It is incredible. There's a lot to it. You definitely do need to learn. Oh, the other thing we have is the oil-free pump is one of the things we got. It's loud, it's noisy, but I love that I don't have to replace the oil every 3, 4, or 5 cycles. So I'm good with that. I love the oil-free pump. We have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. It's been absolutely fantastic. So there you go. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I have a favor to ask of you guys. What do you want to see? What videos would you like for me to do? Do you want me to do more homesteading videos? Do you want me to do more preparedness videos? Do you want more recipes? Leave me an idea, leave me a comment to let me know what you guys want to see, because I have so many things going on right now. I'm not entirely sure where to focus and what you guys would like to see the most of. So if you could do that, that would be a huge help to me, and I will start working on those videos as soon as humanly possible. Thanks so much, guys, for checking in today, and we will see you on the way. Hey guys, today is the okay. I guess I should have brought the stuff in here, shouldn't I? I should have done that. Yes, my hair is kind of a mess. My hair is always a mess because my hair is my hair. Oh dear. It's okay. This one. This is the one I want. Oh, they're so heavy. Oh, they're still so heavy. And things like, no things like, okay, hang on. Collect thought. Carrots, someone's watering the animals so you can hear the water. Not carrots, bananas, not ice. Not ice, no. That's a long video, holy cow.